of which item to start. But then I hadn't not so much time in this position. I said to myself, just try and believe to your unconscious. It began last year as September 211. Ethical values cannot obligate a person to participate in something against their value or moral, because I have always invited them, do you want to make this or not? And I have respected their emotional mood. And it does not contain any mystical, occult or magical things. And with this intervention, I have tried to go beyond the obstacles, because we have to take into consideration that we have to do with persons with mental illness, moderate, intellectual deficits, mental retardation, who are not very severe, moderate and light. Scientific value. The program marks a starting because it stimulates the nervous system, the way he or she thinks, the inner feelings, changing important components in him or herself. The results invite a curriculum of qualitative data regarding the impact of this intervention, of this approach, through an intervention program, I Grow Up, because the course of personal formation, I called it I Grow Up. It is practical too, because it can be developed in a quiet place. Can be used individually or in group too. I would like to explain from here. Here is the tree of exploration, because it is based on a basic research of the connection in operational system of civilization, neuropsychology, and spirituality. And I have done the tree of explanation, neuropsychological civilization. It is divided into presupposed testing, which is the standard base, and it acts as psychological filters. So, presupposed trusting, because it is a central base and it acts as psychological filters. In psychological filters, it does enter values, attitudes, and such things that can change the inner world of these persons. Presupposition of mental elaboration, the maps and the filters. The maps, here is, we have a territory and a mental map. So, the question here is not to try to change the territory, but to try to change a positive thinking in their mind. Also the match, to make them feel better. And psycho-spiritual presupposition. From a psycho-spiritual point of view, we use traditional psychological interventions. And according to this, we have to take outside the box the person, because he is closed or isolated in himself. So the first thing is to get the person out of the inbox, and then to try to enter in his soul, his or her soul. So I made a review of all the psychologists who has given a strong contribution on spirituality. And I can mention here the work of Viktor Frankl. He says that if we do not have a meaning in our life, we are frustrated all the time. And so we feel in vain to live anymore. And here does become the pathology. Carl Jung talks about individuation and the dialogue with himself to grow the person insidely. Abraham Maslow talks about the scales to feel secure in our life. If we do not fulfill all these scales, it is impossible, because the higher the needs and the higher are the desires too. Carl Rogers too. He puts the person, the client, in the center, and he lets him to lead all the section to make him feel good and not be guided from the others. David Banner, he was the last one that I had studied. Because I had not studied during my university or post-university studies, but somebody gave me the book of David Banner, who has a postdoctoral studies in clinical psychology and lectures in a lot of universities around the world, spiritual lectures. And so I chose him to refer to him. So, the third issue, important one, practical psycho-spiritual techniques. According to Abraham Maslow, we have to set goals because the client is in the present state. But how can he go to the desired state? It's a long pathway. And what can you do the next step? Managing of mental status, because we have not to let him so free, because he is not conscious of his actions, and so we have to manage. About managing of mental status is a physiologist, Ivan Pavlov, who talks about this strategy, anchoring. He says that we have to take the person and to put in a desired state, but under a conditional reflex. So controlling him all the time and making him believe that he is free. Then, personal development plan. Every week, they had to make a homework. What to do in the morning, and what to do in the afternoon. And it was the plan, because the next time when they came to the course, they said it, for example, I have done this homework or I have not done. And why? Was it difficult or was it easy? So this was the personal development plan. And exercises. Exercises, I mean cerebral activity. And meditation too, or reflection, the minutes of reflection. For example, after we have done a technique, they have to reflect and then to make a cerebral activity, like gymnastics. Neuropsychospiritual approach to the course of personal formation called I Grow Up. It is set to cut a 4-weekly program. It's a short intervention from Monday to Friday, thrice a week. 60 to 80 minutes, and it's held by me as a main investigator and supported from educators too. Topics: a combination of directional milestone. This has used David Banner too, and I really liked this kind of intervention because he had to feel that, not to learn by memory, by heart, but they had to feel that I really feel myself dependent, for example. And frequentation 20 to 20 participants. Clinical assessment. I have done a 3-dimensional evaluation. Program readiness scales, a tool that captures an individual's willingness to engage in the program process. So, before we began, I asked every one of them. Are you ready to participate? Not only are you ready, because it was a full section with this kind of questions to see their readiness, if they were ready to participate. Program responsibility scale, a tool to present potential responsibility factors in participation, compliance with methods, for example, or with techniques or with exercises, and response to program intervention and topic items in general. Program gain scale in total at the end to validate the full performance, their frequentation, what have they understood and what they didn't understood, or in which exercise did they not feel better, and so on. A two-dimensional explanation of central base of neuropsychospirituality. We have a person here with a dysfunction. And what can happen if we stimulate the system nervous? We start by understanding his inner world. Will positive conditional technique and a quiet environment too. These are the factors to start the formation process. And what we have then? We have to take into consideration intrapsychic, mental, physical, and active. OPD are orphan persons with disabilities, not physical and social, but mental and intrapsychic too. And using psychospiritual techniques, because in this way we facilitate the pathway toward the formal personal process formation. And so we do all the time activities who are proposedly mental, spiritual structures activities, trying to connect them with each other, and putting always a purpose, and educating them all the time that this must not be done, we can do this again, etc. And at the end we have the total effect. Yes. Okay, the reporting of data results. 24 participants with disabilities were analyzed. In the majority of them, qualitative differences between pre- and post-status were relieved. Typically, the changes appear to be concentrated in the middle frequency of program development. And at the end, I can say that these results show that the changes, minimal or moderate, in personal formation of these persons do not arise suddenly, but that there is a transition from pre-state to the post-state. Conclusion and discussion. This is the first study to interview and assess the personal formation through a new approach called neuropsychospiritual in the context of program intervention for orphan persons with disabilities. This approach in general was well accepted by participants because they felt really good. During the course, their interest, regardless of their mental deficits, remained high. Finally, findings suggest that this approach appears a feasible tool that marks the first step of a new clinically acceptable instrument to move forward the personal formation of orphan persons with disabilities. They are in a post-follow study. Limitation. It was not the time in this position to make other researches or to put other, to find other psychologists or something else, because this was to fulfill the plan care as one of the long-term objectives. The second limitation was a lack of standardized reporting observations. But possible confounding of this study include effect of facilitator. because the facilitator must